Kelsey Mitchell is responding to all of the tension that is going on with the Indiana Fever fan base and pretty much everybody in the media creating a narrative about her.
It looks like things just got ugly inside the Indiana Fever locker room. A leaked podcast clip of Kelsey Mitchell has gone viral, and fans believe she just took a major shot at Caitlin Clark.
Now, we know that Stephanie White has found herself in a rabbit hole as well, speaking about making Kelsey Mitchell top priority with the team. Now, it's been people in the media speaking about us content creators calling out the BS with making Kelsey the top priority.
What sounded like casual talk quickly turned into a storm of accusations, debates, and outright chaos across social media. Now, the entire WNBA world is dissecting every word she said, questioning whether this was a misunderstanding or a subtle act of disrespect that could fracture the team's chemistry forever.
Now, I'm not saying she's not a phenomenal basketball player because she truly is, but should she be the focal point of the team just because she's been there the longest? No. Caitlin Clark is the team. She is the system. She is the needle mover. You build around her. I am sorry, and I'm never going to bite my tongue about it. I'm not disrespecting Kelsey in any shape, way, or form, but she's just not Caitlin Clark.
Before the chaos exploded across social media, everything around the Indiana Fever seemed relatively calm. The team had just wrapped up one of the most dramatic seasons in WNBA history, a roller coaster of injuries, pressure, and rising expectations built around Caitlin Clark's explosive rookie year.
Now, I am here to tell you, Caitlin Clark is a generational talent. You make Caitlin Clark the top priority. She's the female Michael Jeffrey Jordan. I don't give a damn what people in the media are saying. If Kelsey Mitchell was like that, they would have been in the playoffs.
Kelsey Mitchell, one of the longest tenured players on the roster, had been praised for stepping up when Caitlin went down. Fans and analysts alike called her the veteran glue, the one who kept the offense afloat when the franchise's brightest star was sidelined. But beneath that calm surface, tension was brewing.
Now, Kelsey Mitchell has definitely been in the news this whole season for various reasons. One being that when Caitlin Clark went down, she stayed the course and initiated the offense, man. Sent them places we never thought they would go without Caitlin Clark, and I commend her for that.
There were quiet whispers about locker room dynamics, how some veterans weren't thrilled about Clark instantly becoming the face of the franchise, and how her arrival shifted the team's balance. Kelsey, once seen as the offensive leader, suddenly found herself sharing not just the spotlight, but the identity of the team she'd helped shape. The public didn't know it, but the Fever were walking on eggshells.
I am sorry, she's the game. Caitlin Clark single-handedly changed the game, if she's in the game or not. And not only just changed the game, she changed their seasons. Imagine if Kelsey Mitchell got hurt like Caitlin did, right? And she was gone, only played 13 games, right? Do y'all think Caitlin could have done the same thing Kelsey did, keep the team keep the team the same course and make it to as far as they did? I believe they would have made it further if Caitlin Clark, they would have beat Las Vegas.
On the court, everyone smiled, clapped hands, and talked about unity. Off the court, the energy was different. Small glances, subtle interviews, and side comments hinted that not everyone was happy with how the Caitlin Clark era was unfolding.
No disrespect to Kelsey Mitchell at all, but had they had Caitlin, they would have beat Las Vegas, bro. That's how big of a difference maker Caitlin is.
So when Kelsey appeared on Sue Bird's podcast, fans expected a typical, polished interview about team growth and adjusting to change. Instead, what came out felt personal to personal. A few carefully chosen words about roles, adjustments, and someone that big, not being bigger than the program, sent social media detectives into a frenzy. The calm before the storm had ended.
The biggest part that I respected about Caitlin is that she never was bigger than the program. I don't know if that makes sense, but like, it wasn't like she wasn't trying to take over.
She basically saying Caitlin was soft. Basically, she never put her foot down and tried to override. That's what I'm thinking she going into, but I could be wrong.
That podcast clip didn't just spark conversations. It ignited a full-blown firestorm that questioned loyalty, leadership, and the respect between teammates. Fans began asking the one question that would dominate headlines for days: Was Kelsey Mitchell subtly disrespecting Caitlin Clark all along?
Like it was like she wasn't trying to, like, you know, you could easily be a certain way, and her thing was just like giving her best. Like she gave us like her best when she was in the locker room.
Yeah, the time I've spent with Caitlin, like she definitely has like, oh, you're like my little sister.
Yes.
Because she likes to, like, you know, talk about basketball and kind of troll a little bit. Yeah,
goodness.
Exactly.
Guys, I know I'm probably going to catch some flack for this, but I feel like they're calling Caitlin Clark soft.
When Kelsey Mitchell sat down for that interview on Sue Bird's podcast, no one expected it to explode the way it did. The conversation started harmlessly, reflections on the season, chemistry within the team, and the adjustments that come with a high-profile rookie like Caitlin Clark joining the roster. Kelsey spoke calmly, even thoughtfully, about how everyone had to adapt to new roles and dynamics within the Fever organization. But then came the sentence that flipped everything upside down. She said, "When someone that big comes into something, there are a lot of adjustments people have to make. On the floor, off the floor, in the locker room, in the training room. Just a lot of moving parts." But the biggest thing I respected about Caitlin was that she never tried to be bigger than the program. That one line, "never tried to be bigger than the program," instantly became the center of controversy. Fans replayed it, clipped it, slowed it down, analyzed her tone, and began to question her intent. Was she giving Caitlin Clark genuine praise for her humility? Or was this a subtle dig, a backhanded compliment aimed at downplaying Clark's influence and star power? Social media didn't hesitate to pick a side. Some defended Kelsey, saying she was being mature and respectful, acknowledging Caitlin's team-first mentality. Others saw it differently, a coded jab, a veteran's frustration at losing her spot as the franchise centerpiece. It didn't help that content creators and basketball commentators quickly jumped on the story, framing it as yet another example of locker room tension between old guard players and rising superstars. Within hours, hashtags like #Kelsey Mitchell and #Caitlin Clark were trending. Reddit threads dissected every pause and inflection. YouTube breakdowns flooded timelines, and TikTok clips racked up millions of views. What was supposed to be an honest conversation about growth turned into a viral storm that redefined how fans viewed the relationship between Kelsey, Mitchell, and Caitlin Clark, and suddenly everyone had an opinion. After the podcast clips spread like wildfire, fans and analysts started diving deep into Kelsey Mitchell's phrasing, every pause, every subtle inflection, every word choice. To many, it wasn't just what she said, but how she said it. That line about Caitlin never being bigger than the program sounded innocent enough on paper. But in the context of everything happening inside the Indiana Fever, it hit differently. People noticed that Kelsey didn't use the same energy when describing Caitlin's impact as she had when praising other teammates. Instead of celebrating Clark as the once-in-a-generation talent she clearly is, her comments focused more on fitting in and understanding roles. It gave off the impression that Caitlin was a piece of the system, not the driving force behind it. For fans who see Clark as the reason Indiana is relevant again, that was a red flag. The underlying tone suggested something unspoken that Kelsey might feel overshadowed. After all, before Caitlin arrived, she was the face of the Fever. She was the veteran scorer, the go-to name during post-game interviews, the player who carried the team through losing seasons. But the arrival of Clark changed everything overnight. Suddenly, national headlines were no longer about Kelsey's consistency. They were about Caitlin's highlight reels, ticket sales, and record-breaking viewership numbers. So when Kelsey emphasized that Clark wasn't bigger than the program, fans heard something deeper, maybe even resentment disguised as professionalism. The phrasing felt carefully controlled, like she was trying to maintain diplomacy while letting a little frustration slip through. Some even argued that this wasn't the first time Kelsey had thrown subtle shade. Old clips resurfaced where she mentioned people needing to earn their spot, and not everything being handed to them. When placed side by side, those comments painted a pattern not of open hostility, but quiet resistance. Whether intentional or not, her words planted a seed of doubt that kept growing. And as fans debated her true motives, the question shifted from what she said to why she said it. The moment Kelsey's podcast clip hit social media, the sports world fractured into two loud, passionate sides. On one end were the loyal Fever supporters defending Kelsey Mitchell, arguing that she was simply speaking as a veteran leader, acknowledging the team's need to adjust around a rising superstar. On the other end were Caitlin Clark fans, furious at what they saw as a condescending tone meant to downplay the player, who single-handedly revived the WNBA's national relevance. Sports shows, podcasts, and even mainstream outlets picked up the story. ESPN analysts debated whether Kelsey's comments reflected deeper tension within the Fever locker room, while YouTubers and independent creators tore apart every sentence with side-by-side replays and tone analysis. Some creators pointed out how Kelsey's delivery changed when talking about Caitlin, more measured, less enthusiastic, and oddly defensive. Others insisted the media was twisting her words for clicks. But once fans took sides, there was no turning back. Fever social media pages flooded with divided comments. One half said, "Kelsey's right. No player is above the team," while the other half clapped back with, "Caitlin is the team." Hashtags like #RespectCaitlin and #StandWithKelsey started trending simultaneously, showcasing how deeply the fan base had split. Even players from other teams seemed to notice the growing divide. Subtle tweets and cryptic emojis began circulating, a few from WNBA veterans hinting that respect goes both ways, while others praised Caitlin's humility under pressure. It became a league-wide conversation about ego, leadership, and the uncomfortable shift happening as the WNBA transitions into a new era of stardom. The Fever organization stayed silent, hoping the noise would fade. But it didn't. Instead, the backlash intensified, especially as content creators began highlighting how this wasn't just a social media misunderstanding, it was a symptom of something bigger. The team's hierarchy, its chemistry, and even its leadership were now under the microscope. And suddenly, what began as a single podcast quote became a full-blown media storm that the Fever could no longer ignore. To understand why Kelsey Mitchell's comments hit such a nerve, you have to understand what Caitlin Clark represents, not just for Indiana, but for the entire WNBA. She's not just another rookie, she's a cultural event. From sold-out arenas to record-breaking viewership, Clark's presence injected new life into the league in a way that hasn't been seen in decades. She became a walking headline, the single reason they started watching women's basketball again. That kind of impact changes everything. Inside the locker room, it redefines expectations. Clark isn't merely a player, she's the franchise. She's the engine that drives sponsorships, media attention, and fan engagement. When a player like that joins a team, the hierarchy shifts whether veterans like it or not. And that's where Kelsey's words cut so deep. By saying Caitlin wasn't bigger than the program, it sounded like she was resisting the reality that everyone else had already accepted. Caitlin is the program. Many fans argued that Kelsey's approach represents the old WNBA mindset, one built on hierarchy and seniority. But Caitlin's arrival symbolizes a new era, one where star power and performance speak louder than years of experience. In this new standard, talent and visibility rule. You don't earn leadership because of tenure, you earn it because of impact. To Caitlin's credit, she's handled the attention with calm professionalism. No public responses, no passive-aggressive interviews, no online subtweets. She just keeps showing up, smiling, and working. That composure is exactly what fans admire, a quiet strength that speaks volumes without ever saying a word. Every new viral clip comparing her humility to Kelsey's perceived jealousy keeps the debate alive. It's no longer about one podcast. It's about what Caitlin Clark stands for, the next generation of athletes who don't need permission to lead, to shine, or to be bigger than the system itself. Behind the polished smiles and media-friendly quotes, the Indiana Fever have been juggling something far more complicated, a quiet power struggle that's been building since the moment Caitlin Clark was drafted. On paper, this team should be united under one mission, to win, but in reality, it's been a balancing act between preserving veteran respect and embracing the unstoppable momentum that Caitlin brought with her. Kelsey Mitchell has been the steady hand of this franchise for years. She endured losing seasons, coaching changes, and the constant rebuild cycles that come with being on a struggling team. She's paid her dues, built her reputation, and carried the torch when few were watching. But when Caitlin arrived, that torch was suddenly ripped from her hands, not by choice, but by circumstance. Overnight, media outlets shifted focus. Press conferences revolved around Clark. The cameras followed her every step, every word, every smile. That spotlight doesn't just illuminate, it burns. And for someone like Kelsey, who's been loyal through the darkest days, that's hard to swallow. Insiders have quietly hinted that the tension isn't about personality clashes, but about identity. The Fever are no longer Kelsey's team, they're Caitlyn's team. And when you've spent nearly a decade trying to build something, that transition feels personal. Sources close to the organization claim that coaches and management are aware of the dynamic and have tried to smooth things over. Team dinners, closed-door meetings, and media training sessions have all been part of the effort to keep the locker room unified. But as the podcast drama proves, the tension still seeps through, subtle but impossible to hide. It's not about hatred or hostility. It's about control and recognition. Kelsey wants respect for her years of loyalty. Caitlyn, without even trying, has become the symbol of the future. And now, Indiana stands at a crossroads between honoring its past and embracing the unstoppable wave of what's coming next. If the podcast ignited the spark, content creators were the gasoline that made it explode. Within hours of the clip surfacing, sports YouTubers, podcasters, and even TikTok analysts jumped on the story. Everyone wanted a piece of the debate. Reactions flooded timelines, some defending Kelsey Mitchell as a misunderstood veteran, others accusing her of veiled jealousy and subtle disrespect toward Caitlyn. Clark, what was once a quiet locker room issue, became a headline-driven drama, frame by frame, for millions of viewers. Channels that had been covering the WNBA for years suddenly saw record spikes in views. Creators broke down Kelsey's tone, her facial expressions, and even her body language during the podcast. Some pointed out moments where she paused before mentioning Caitlyn's name, as if choosing her words carefully. Others edited side-by-side comparisons of her old interviews, claiming they revealed a clear pattern of frustration. The internet became a courtroom, and every fan became a jury member. Meanwhile, larger creators with established followings, the ones not tied to official media credentials, spoke even louder. They called out traditional sports outlets for protecting the WNBA's image while ignoring the real issues brewing inside the Fever. One creator famously said, "We're not rage baiting, we're just saying what everyone else is scared to admit." That line alone sent waves across comment sections. As fans realized the independent media was now shaping the narrative more than the league itself, the divide only grew deeper. Some saw this as healthy, open discussion, forcing transparency. Others believed it was tearing down women's basketball, just as it was reaching mainstream success. But the truth was unavoidable. The story had escaped the Fever's control. The more creators covered it, the more fans demanded answers. And in an age where perception is everything, it wasn't the players or the coaches who controlled the story anymore. It was the internet. By the time the dust began to settle, the damage was already done. Kelsey Mitchell's reputation had taken a major hit. Not just with fans, but within parts of the media that once viewed her as a silent leader. Every major sports outlet had covered the controversy. And even casual fans who didn't follow the WNBA knew her name, though not for the reasons she would have wanted. The leaked clip had transformed her from a respected veteran into a symbol of the internal tension surrounding Caitlyn Clark's rise. Behind the scenes, sources claimed the Fever organization was scrambling to control the narrative. Public relations teams were advising players to stave off social media, while coaches privately urged everyone to move on. But the internet never really moves on. Screenshots, clips, and reaction videos kept resurfacing. Even days later, threads analyzing the hidden meaning behind Kelsey's words continued gaining traction. Some fans forgave her, saying she simply misspoke in a long conversation and didn't mean harm. Others weren't so quick to let go, arguing that her words revealed a deeper jealousy that no amount of PR statements could hide. Caitlyn, as always, stayed quiet, her silence becoming its own powerful message. She didn't need to respond. Every time she hit the court, her performance spoke louder than any quote ever could. For the Fever, though, this incident might serve as a wake-up call. The team can't afford a fractured locker room if they plan to compete at the top level next season. Chemistry, trust, and communication will matter more than ever. As for Kelsey Mitchell, the road ahead will be a test of humility and redemption. Can she rebuild the public's trust and find peace within a team now defined by a superstar she inadvertently disrespected? Only time will tell, but one thing's certain: the internet won't forget. What started as a simple podcast moment has turned into one of the most heated controversies of the WNBA season. Kelsey Mitchell's words, whether intentional or misunderstood, exposed the fragile balance between legacy and stardom. Inside the Indiana Fever, Caitlin Clark's rise has redefined what leadership and influence look like in women's basketball, forcing veterans and fans alike to confront a new era. As the spotlight grows brighter, the Fever will either unite behind their superstar or crumble under the weight of ego and perception. The next season will reveal which story wins loyalty or legacy.